All good?
Hello everyone and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today, remarkably, I've got Aaron Scantlebury and not Trina Horrocks, which it says on and we haven't spoken for 30 years. 30 years.
30 years,
We haven't spoken.
Yeah, it is.
So this is a bit of amazing. And this is, I'm not even making this up. This is literally 2 seconds before I started recording and we haven't spoken before that. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Jay.
And I appreciate it.
And can I just say, in these times that are very, very hard for everybody around the UK, I've admired from afar the stuff that you do for Veterans in Crisis.
Thanks, man.
And now it's got to be more difficult now than ever before. And the challenges must be huge for you. So a big, massive up for the things that you do for people.
Cheers, man. I tell you, so a little bit of background for people. So we were in the army together. You were.
I was, yeah.
I was trying to think earlier on, because you were definitely in my platoon, but were you my section commander when we were in Berlin? I can't remember. Obviously, I'm old, so my memory's terrible.
God, I might have been. Do you know what? The honest answer is, in Berlin, I was a section commander with anti-tanks for a little while, but also mortars. I got passed around a lot, Jay.
You did, mate. Well, we'll get on to Ticking with a Crow in a minute. And then, we'll realise why your career dramatically went bad.
Yes. My career-ending moment.
So I tell you what was really weird. Joe, who films the podcast normally from Tile Image, me and him had a photograph taken last Christmas. Yes. And then it got put on Facebook, and then you seen it. And you were like, I can't believe that, like, and you knew both of us, obviously separately. How bizarre is that, man?
Small world, innit? My life, Jez, is divided into two. I've got my army life, which, although it was only 13 years, I think it's fair to say, I think I speak for most people that have served in the army, and I think it right enough to say that regardless whether it's 3 years, 13 years, or 20 odd years, it makes up a big part of your life. It almost defines you. So although I only served for 13 years, that's half of my life almost. And then the other half is my civilian life. And whilst that's been much, much longer, it doesn't feel somehow as long as my army career did for 13 years.
I think the stuff that you learn when you're in the army stays with you, doesn't it?
It definitely does, mate. I mean, don't get me wrong. Not everything that you learn in my case, I can only speak for myself. Not everything that you learn in the army is good, because it doesn't really teach you, or at least in my time. It was a long time ago when you and I were in the army, and the truth is, it doesn't really prepare you very well for civilian street, I don't think. And I'm not sure if that's still the case today, but I suspect it probably is. And I definitely wasn't prepared for it. I still thought it was okay to pull somebody over a desk and have a quiet word outside, which clearly, the real world, that just...
Weird, isn't it? It's weird. You can't do shit like that, man.
It is, yeah. It is, it's odd. And the other thing is, I've just got to wave goodbye to my other half. Goodbye, darling. Love you. She's brilliant, by the way. So my civilian life has been made up mainly with her, and she's the person that got me on the straight and narrow.
Good.
But I did leave the army, Jay. I did find it quite tough, to be honest with you. I was earning great money, and I had my own business for a little while, and I was very successful in business, in managerial roles and things, but I just couldn't behave. And I was no stranger to misbehaving in the army, that's for sure. And I seem to took that with me, and that's what I mean by not preparing you very well. The truth is, it prepares you so badly. It almost prepares you for a fall, I think. And I did have to scrape myself out of quite a bit of bother and get myself back on my feet, and it was quite tough. And that's where I met your buddy.
Yeah, Joe.
Here's the things for you, Joe. Yeah, and we went to a second chance college together, where I met my other half, actually, my better half. And it's a college. It's in the middle of Wales, at the bottom of a beautiful castle on the coast. And it's basically for people who failed in their education and want a second chance in life, to prepare themselves and give them the education and qualifications they need to go to university, and basically kind of rewire yourself and rewire your ability and skill set. And I think it did us both the world of good. I'm sure he would agree with that.
Well, he actually did say that. It did put him on, I wouldn't say the straight and narrow, but it sort of set him up for his career, is what he's doing now. I mean, I met Joe probably 10 years ago, I think it was. We both worked for the same homeless charity.
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever since, and then he's been good for some advice, some shit advice, which Joe as well.
He's a cockney, what can I say?
Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. We stuck together, and things haven't been great, as in working wise with jobs and stuff. And when I set Vix up, he was good for some good advice, and also when he was setting Tile Image up, and none of us had made a documentary before, and I said, why didn't you make a year-long documentary? The first year of Vix, and it went really well, to be honest. It's on YouTube, so it went really well. I enjoyed doing it, and considering I was really private, because I'll be honest with you, when I left the army, I was into drugs, violence, drinking too much, and basically I tried to keep everything under wraps, so I would never ever speak to the press, I would never speak to on camera or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when I started Vix, I thought, well, you know what I mean? I'll just see everything that's ever happened to us. I'll be open about it. Because I'm different now from what I was, so there's no point in lying about it. So and I found it was good for me myself by getting it all out there and being able to speak in front of people about, because when we had the premiere at Sunderland Stadium of Light. There's about 300 people there. And there was
Roker Park in my day.
There was stuff where I'd spoke about suicide and the amount of drugs I was taking and stuff like that, and my mum was there and my daughter was there, and they never knew any of that until that night.
Really?
No, until that night when it came on the screen.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So,
holy. It's a weird thing, isn't it? It's a weird thing how somebody with the same sort of background as us. I mean, we're both working class lads, and as are most people that join the army, I suppose. And sometimes you're thrust, while you're in the army, you're thrust into positions and in an environment that most people in life would struggle to deal with, let's be honest. And then when you come out of the army and you come to this normal society, to be honest with you, I found it the most abnormal, weird, strangest, surreal experience of my life. There just seemed to be no stability, no nothing. It was odd, and it was very, very challenging. And then all of a sudden, people like yourself, in particular, get thrust back into this position where all of a sudden they've got this idea and this concept and a product almost, with the challenges that you do with the people that you support and help. And then all of a sudden you're faced with that kind of army, kind of, let's get up, I've got to face up to this. I've got to deal with the rights and wrongs that I've done in the past, and I've got to move on because there's a greater good. There's a greater good. And fair play to you, mate, because I don't think many people can do that. I really don't.
I don't know about you,
but the army, we struggle.
When I left the army, I didn't want anything to do with the military, nothing at all. I only really, apart from you, when you remember Finn, so me and him are still friends now. We're going out to drink all the time.
Yeah,
on a holiday
brilliant.
And that. Other than him and a few others that were army friends, I didn't have anything to do with the army. It's only when I got the idea of Vix when I was working at the homeless charity that I actually started thinking. And even now, I'm different to other veterans charities, and that because I'm not into really that. I'm not into marching around. I just really I want to be helping people who's been on drugs, been in trouble with the police.
Yeah.
They've got proper problems.
Yeah.
Because some charities will stay away from the troublesome type. A lot are happy to help veterans who were in the 80s, got loads of medals and things like that, but they're not that keen on somebody who dropped out of training because they were taking drugs or whatever. We just work on the fact that if you've joined, you've did one day, that's good enough for me.
Fair play to you, mate. Yeah, fair play to you. You've got to. I would agree with that. When I left, I've never been to an association meeting. I've been invited dozens of times. I'm still in touch with a few people from that, like a bit like yourself. Small handful of people that I served with that I got on very well with, like H. Hanley and people like that. And we stay in touch and things. I've never met up with any of them. I've kind of just got on with my own little world. I've never kept any mementos or anything. I don't have a cap badge, a berry. I don't even know where my medals. In fact, I threw most of my medals away, if I remember rightly. I grew a political conscience when I left the army, so I chucked them away. And whilst I was always a bit of a controversial figure, you know, I'm exactly the same. You know, I don't. It's a big part of what modelled me, but it does define me to a degree, but I have control over it now. You know, I don't want to be seen as just, you know, the squaddy with the war stories and the, you know, I think there's much more to me, and I think there's a bit more depth to me, and I'm definitely a kinder soul now than I ever was when I was in the army, and I'm definitely more appreciative of people around me, and yeah, it's an odd thing, you know, you were saying about your daughter learning for the first time about taking drugs and some of the stuff that you'd got yourself into, and it being a bit of a shocker. When I left, I severed all ties with my entire family, and it was only less than a year ago that I got in touch with my daughter, and I hadn't seen her for 20 years since she was a little girl, and she got back in touch. So we've had a couple of meetings. It's wonderful, beautiful meeting her. She's a beautiful girl. She's got a beautiful. I've now got a grandson that I've met for the first time, and he's now 8 years old. And he's a beautiful boy, and it's amazing. It is amazing. But I had that kind of cathartic experience where you have to sit and kind of, you know, out with it all, and it's not easy, is it, mate?
No. But I tell you one thing. Once you've done it, man, every day is easier. It's much easier.
Yeah. I think you're right. It saves you then having to kind of trawl over stuff and trying to remember what was said and done and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes, you know, especially when it comes to personal relationships and things, and my daughter and my partner and things, you know, I've always been honest, and I realised that, you know, after getting into trouble a lot in the army and a lot shortly after leaving the army, I did realise quite quickly that, you know, it's a big burden to carry around with you a lot of the time. You've got to offload that at some point, and you can't do it half-heartedly. You've got to drop it, you know, fully, haven't you? There's no half in this. You've got to get rid of it if you want to go on to do bigger and better things, like the charities work that you do. I think it's amazing. I've always kind of admired from far people that are able to do that kind of stuff, because I'll be honest with you now, Jay, I don't want to cry all the time. I mean, I know you help some people in some very, very serious, you know, states. And it must be emotionally bloody draining.
Oh, it is, man.
Draining.
I like what I do. Well, with COVID, it's a bit different. But what I normally would do is, before I go home, I go into the gym or I go running. Something where I'm by myself with my earphones in, not speaking to anyone. Did that for an hour, gone home, forget about what's happened in the day, and it all starts again the next day. And that's my kind of coping, you know. Because I try now, because I'm sort of trying not to drink during the week now. I'll probably drink on a Saturday, and then that's it. You know, I try to do a lot of fitness. Whereas I was drinking every day, I was stoned every day, and you know, it was mental. Like, see, I had my problems, right? Even though I was taking different kinds of drugs, like recreational drugs, that wasn't my problem. I became addicted. I was attacked off dogs, bizarrely, right? And
really?
I nearly died. So I got 28 stitches in my arm, 8 in my leg. I had 34 puncture wounds, and I had 3 discs out of my back. So I became addicted to painkillers. So that, like, for 10 years, that I was a fucking wreck, like, really bad, real terrible. Suffered from social isolation, stuck in the house because I couldn't walk properly. The pain was unbelievable. I wake up in the morning, I knew I'd be in pain till I went back to sleep. You know, I was drinking Oromorph. I was fucking any kind of painkiller. I was stoned all the time. You know, and once I stopped being like that, my life took a turn for the better. You know, I mean, I always loved smoking weed, right? I loved it. That was brilliant. Smoked all day, every day. Had a great time. And then after 20 years of doing that, once I've stopped, I've managed to do all this. Just it shows you, you know what I mean? Whereas before, I struggled going to Aldi. That was it. You know what I mean?
Mental. That is mad. That is mad.
But you know, as much as I loved it, and I would never ever knock people for doing it.
Yeah.
I've done it for 20 years, and I don't want to do it anymore. You know, I'm at the stage where I like my fitness. I like being busy at work. It doesn't matter. This isn't like 9 to 5. It's just all the time, every day, all day, whenever something needs doing, and I like it like that. Keeps us busy.
Do you find that that's kind of do you know when you were saying about when you were taking drugs and you were kind of I'm trying to envisage it, you know, sat in your flat or your house or your bedroom, and not wanting to, shutting off the entire world and all the rest of it, and then you've quit all that. Do you think that you could still smoke and take recreational drugs and but do the things that you do, or drink perhaps, and do the things that you do? Because my experience of very little experience of smoking weed. It's a bit of a confessional here now. It's the first time I've ever in public to doing it. But
like Narcotics Anonymous, mate.
Brilliant. I couldn't operate at all.
No.
That was it. Couldn't operate at all. Couldn't write a dissertation. Nothing. Couldn't do anything. Just my mind just wouldn't. You know, you seem to think while you're on it, you have the best ideas in the world, but your mojo just disappears, doesn't it?
It does. And I used to just when I was bad and I wasn't leaving the house, I was stoned, and I used to just watch Jamie Oliver all day, and then whatever he'd made.
Love Jamie Oliver. I love Jamie Oliver.
Me one time out of the house, I'd gone to Aldi or another supermarket and buy the ingredients and make that food. That was me day.
That's brilliant. I've got a stack of his books here, mate. I've got a stack of his. I love it. I love his Italian stuff. Is brilliant. I love Jamie Oliver's recipes. Hey, mate. So given that you've got you're well known now. You know, in your circles, you're very well known. You've become like synonymous, if you like, with Forces Charities. In your position now, surely to God you'd be able to meet. You know, have a little word and have. Do you not get these famous people offering to help you out? And
well, we had I don't know if you would call him famous, but we had Ross Kemp here.
Did you? Ross Kemp is excellent. He's big on supporting Forces Charities.
Yeah, we've had him here. We've had some people out of bands, and I don't like what happens is people we give people T-shirts to wear.
Right.
So we've got Ben Stokes, another cricket player.
Yeah.
I've got just to the right of me there. I've got his England from the World Cup. His England top, all signed by the England team. Didn't even like cricket. Didn't even know he won. To be honest.
Tell him.
Didn't even. I had no idea. I asked somebody. All around the room, I've got like signed Vicks tops by footballers. You know, loads of things. Jordan Pickford, Jordan Henderson, Sunderland players.
Listen, you're a down to earth. You're a down to earth guy. So when you get invited to these like presentations and galas and stuff and black tie events and whatnot, and you're sat at a table, you know, round table with people. How does that go? How do you feel when you're?
Well, I tell you, I'll be honest. I thought I was being sophisticated by drinking red wine. Right? And fucking hell, I drank 4 bottles, man. Right, and I won an award down in London, and James Nesbitt. No, called me.
Yeah.
I ended up getting on the stage and wrestling with him.
Oh my God! No, seriously. Oh my Lord!
I know. I'm just mental, like, because I don't drink champagne, so we got there. And I ended up having 8 glasses of champagne while we were waiting to get in, and then nobody else was having red wine, so I drank the 4 bottles of red wine on the table. But only 2 before I got on the stage, so I got 2. I had 2 to celebrate after when we won, and I got on the stage and he went to shake my hand. And I started, "Wee!" You know, I think Batman.
I bet he didn't expect you to throw him over your.
No, I know what he whispered in my ear and he goes, "You mental, yeah, son." That's what he said.
Brilliant.
But I mean,
I've often wondered how these posh people think. Sometimes I've been lucky enough in my latter years with the job that I do. I get to meet quite a few people off Coronation Street. I've met and know people from well, I know an Olympic gold medalist, for example, cyclist and stuff. So I've met quite a few of these people and people off Hollyoaks and whatnot. And when I meet them, it's always very nice. It's always very nice. But they are from a different world, yeah. They are definitely from a different world, you know. And then when you've had a few beers, my problem is when I've had a few beers, my first drink, I think I'm the invited comedian. My second drink, I think it's time to get up on stage. Third drink, I then start looking for people to abuse and take the piss out of. And then by the fourth drink, my missus is dragging me out, embarrassed and ashamed of me. So we
so you haven't changed?
No.
Exactly the same.
Neither of you!
I've just, the way I've played this whole thing is I'm just exactly the same. Just if I'm talking to the mayor or I'm talking to one of the clients, you know, I'm just the same. And then, you know, if people don't like it, they don't like it. It's just, you know, I literally, I get things done. And if the way I do it works, you know, I mean, I can't get sacked because I'm the boss. So, you know what I mean? That's
exactly. Who's gonna find? Oh, that must feel brilliant. I've got a brilliant boss. The director of the company that I run, he's brilliant. He leaves me to it. He basically just, you know, get on with it. Go do whatever needs doing. I've been there for 6 years now. He's a great guy to work for. His whole family are brilliant to work for. And to be fair, I've always dreamed of having, this is as close as I'm going to get to having, you know, being my own boss and doing my own thing and not having any stress to worry about and all that kind of stuff. And I'm very happy where I am and what I do. I love it. I could see myself doing this for another 6 years, to be honest. And then retiring. You must be thinking about retiring, Jay, surely.
No, mate, no, because I did fuck all for years. So my plan is another 25 years if I'm not dead.
You're joking.
No, I want to. I'm probably enjoying it, and this isn't like hard labour, you know. I'm not digging holes, or you know, I'm just talking. You know, actually, today is my first day as a senior lecturer at Sunderland University.
Shut up!
Right?
Really?
I left fucking school. I left school without any qualifications.
Me too. Yeah, me too, mate.
So today is the first day. Obviously, I'm not at work because I'm here, but it's part time, so I'm fitted in round this.
So what do you lecture on?
It'll be veterans and military affairs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And does that cover things like the scandals and how bad the army are at doing that?
It will be when I'm talking about it, I
thought it might. Get off the fence, Jed. Tell them what you think.
Well, my daughter.
To be honest with you.
My daughter's been saying like, because she's just turned 16. She's like,
yeah,
you got to be really careful what you say, because I say some mental stuff like we were back in the army, you know. And she'll say, you can't say that. You can't say that. Look around the room first before you say this. I'm fucking hell, you know what I mean?
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
It's amazing. We've got children. We've got daughters that are wiser than us in many ways.
Well, I was when I started Vix, I started it and I self-funded it, and I didn't want to take any money, so I got another job. So I worked 2 full-time jobs for 2.5 years at the beginning.
Wow!
And that only finished in June last year. So I was a research assistant at Northumbria University, but I was basically researching Vix. So it was to the peer model. So I did like a 2-year study on that. So that's going to be brought out soon. That was really hard work, working 2 jobs, because it's more or less 16, 18 hours every day, weekends and everything. Then when I finished in June this year, I'm 50 this year, just turned 50. So this year was going to be brilliant. I was going all over the world. I had time off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
COVID, man. So get the day now.
It's a killer, isn't it?
Yeah, it literally is. It literally is a killer.
Literally. Hey, see where I went with that? Yeah, it is. It is. The business. I run a big holiday park. That's not that big. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's quite small, really. About 270 pitches, caravans and lodge pitches, 50 touring pitches. We've got a nightclub and a bar and a retail outlet and some various other bits and pieces of things. And we're right on the beach. It's beautiful, it's stunning. And we sell lodges for up to £190,000. And it's beautiful. It's lovely. It's a beautiful part of Wales. It's absolutely gorgeous. And whilst I love it, I love it to bits. This COVID thing, oh my Lord, you know, we used to turn in over £3 million a year, and basic 2.5 million of that is just gone. Gone. And it has been tough. And you know, when you've got 20 or 30 people that work for you, and they're good people, and it's hard trying to, you know, contrary to some people who seem to think that the government are kind of propping all this lot up. They're doing their best, and I appreciate what little they're doing. But the truth of the matter is, you know, we've had to dig deep and find a lot of money from all over the place. And it has been tough. It has been tough keeping a business afloat that just cannot operate. So, but at the end of the day, you know, if the worst ever happened and the park closed, it means people would lose their holiday homes and they'd have to move them to somewhere else. And it wouldn't be the end of the world, apart from my wonderful boss, who's a great guy, him losing his business perhaps. But he's also one of a very big lawyer and an equity partner in a legal company, a massive legal company in the UK. So I'm sure he won't miss a bob or two, although he won't like to hear that.
You're not watching shit, man.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, you know, it won't be the end of the world. It's not, you know, it's not critical. Whereas the stuff that you're doing is, you know, it could be the end of the world for some people that you're working for.
It is. We see that on a daily basis.
It's not just the disease that kills people. It's the environment that it's creating around us, and the disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and that's getting even further and further apart. And I'm starting to sound a little bit like our friend Joe now, because he's socialist queen for the UK, isn't he? But I do think people fail to sometimes understand how tough it can be leaving one environment, like a military environment, and then being part of this, the normal world. And then when you have that all pulled from underneath your feet, it can feel a very lonely and sad existence for some people. And if there's not people like you there supporting them and helping steer them out of the mess that they find themselves in, and quite frankly, you know, the world would be a much, much sadder place. It really would be a sadder place. So yeah, the challenges that you must have with COVID, Jesus Christ, awful.
Well, the worst part is when we set this. So we've got a building. It's called the ERV. It's 4 floors. Bottom floor is a drop-in. Then there's an emergency apartment. Then a therapy centre. Then a podcast room. Obviously, we're just doing it on Zoom now, so we're not using it. But the social isolation part, it was great because they could come here every day and do stuff. Yeah. But we've been really restricted now, so we're doing a lot of like stuff remotely. We've given them tablets and doing art lessons and things like that. And we have like our own fitness trainer. We normally would do 4 circuit training sessions a week. Yeah. That's obviously been cut now. We've got a running club, a walking club, you know, all these outdoor things. And it's been ruined, like it's been ruined, but next year will be different. It
will be, mate. It will be. You've got to, you know, you can't imagine for a second that this is going to last forever. You just can't. And the truth is that that once we get onto the other side of this, the real work starts again for people like you. And you know, because those lads haven't gone away, are they? And then that's it. They haven't gone away. They're still there, and they'll continue to be there because I kind of hinted at it before. Yes, I made a programme whilst in the army about my displeasure about how certain things were done in the army. And that has never eroded, to be honest with you. I might have done it slightly different with what I now know and with my lessons in life. But the truth of the matter is I still harbour grave suspicion about the Ministry of Defence and our armed forces and how they look after our servicemen and women. I don't believe for a minute they may have improved, but they're nowhere near as responsible as they could or should be for those people. And frankly, if it wasn't for people like you and others that are doing an amazing job like you do for those people, I'd shudder to think the states that some people might be getting into, and my heart goes out to them. Actually, my heart really does go out to them. I found it tough. I found it really, really, really tough, and I was lucky. You know, I was in the right place at the right time, and I met the right people at the right time, and as much shit as I got myself into, I managed to get myself out of. I was pretty good at that anyway, but I did get myself into a lot of shit, some serious shit, and then eventually, a bit like you have that almost an epiphany moment, and went to university, studied philosophy, and then my life just took a different trajectory thereafter. But there's an awful lot of people who just don't and need a little bit of a helping hand. And
you know what changed what happened to me? Like, so loads of shit's happened to us, but I was starting to sort myself out, and now I was in my parents' house, and my dad died in front of us. So I gave him CPR, and it didn't work. Yeah. Like when you watch it on the telly, it always works, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that absolutely fucking ruined us, like, to be honest. Yeah. So from that day, I thought I'm going to get a job where I help people, because I couldn't help him, so I'm going to get a job where I help people. Yeah. So I had a part of a bakery, so I sold that part, and then I paid me on wages at a homeless charity. That's where I met Joe. So wow. There was that, you'd say epiphany, that man, totally, if you knew the person I was before, I was all about money. Didn't matter how much money I had, I just wanted more money. I wanted more shit, but I wanted to buy more gear. You know, I mean, I'm still like that with trainers. Like, my addiction now is Adidas trainers. Fucking hell, man.
Is that your drug of choice?
Adidas? It is, mate, I tell you. And you cannot put them in Rizzlers.
That's it. I collect them.
The first lockdown, right? I bought 20 pair in the first lockdown.
Well, listen, all of them people like your help, I'll be able to recognise them the next time I'm up at Sunderland, because they'll be walking around with really nice daps on.
Oh, fuck that, man! I've in my house, man. I've got them everywhere. Like, I've got a whole wall full of trainers on, all blue boxes on.
Oh my lord!
I know, but I mean, I'll be honest to you. When I look at them, I think, well, I would have not, like, say if they were £100, I would have snorted that, or I would have smoked that. So I look at them every morning when I get out of bed and think, you know, well, it's a lot of money, but it's a lot of money I would have took.
I think you've got to do that, you know, Jay. I think, you know, all joking aside, I think you have to have something, you know, you have to have a crux. Everybody has to have something that they can kind of distract them, that kind of rewards them in the same way as that snorting a line or on a joint would do. Mine's motorbikes. I collect vintage classic, pre-war motorbikes and stuff. I collect. I've got a few of them now, and so I do that. That's my thing. But you've got to have that, and occasionally, you know that moment that you get where you sat there and you're having a really shite day, and money's flying out, and you can't see any coming back in, and you're thinking, oh, fuck's sake, you've got not just your own mouths to feed and your own family to feed and worry about, but you've got staff and people to worry about, and then you sat there and you think, oh, for fuck's sake. Now I suppose in your darkest moments you could just reach for a 6-pack and see where that took you or whatever, but for me it's not. I just take the dust cover off one of the bikes and clean it, just sit there and fucking polish a bike, and then by the time I finished and it's immaculate, and that's it. I'm lost in the moment. And sometimes you need that, don't you? You need to be what you were saying at your charity, you've got these different floors and there's different activities at each one of those. I suppose that's, to a degree, that's what you're doing for them as well, isn't it? You're giving them, you're taking their mind off all the shit that they've got in their life, and you're giving them something else to focus on for.
So we have basically a timetable of stuff to do from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock every day. Saturday, we've got season tickets for the football, so that takes you if you wanted to go in there. And then you have Sunday off. Not everyone can come every time, but a lot of people come and just hang around, which is great, because that stops them from feeling isolated. Then we get free food from Nando's, from Greg's, all kinds of stuff, and they just come and eat that and just chill out and wash the clothes. Every floor's got a shower and a toilet, so they can have a shower after we've done fitness. You know, it fills the day. And then even what I always say to people, because I'm not a person that says you should stop drinking, you should stop taking drugs, right? Because it's got nothing to do with me, right? What I say is, people sometimes come in from work, 6 o'clock, have a glass of wine or a beer, right? Lots of people do that. What lots of people don't do is get up in the morning at 8 o'clock and have a bottle of wine. You know what I mean? That's what you got to think of. If you're busy here all day, you can have a drink on a night, but you can't come here hungover or on anything. So the idea is they won't overdo it on a night, because that means the next day they can't come. If they can't come, that means they stay in the house, which means they're not tired, so they don't sleep on the night. Probably have a drink, which is the next day is fucked as well. You know.
Yeah. So that so homeless charities that I've not got homeless charities. So I'm just trying to pick your brain here for a minute. So homeless charities that I've kind of had experience of in terms of, knowing what they do and knowing some of the people that work within them, tend to be kind of more concerned about feeding them, clothing them, and giving them shelter. The kind of the three big needs that anybody needs and deserve, I guess. And then perhaps a little bit of sitting down and talking with them and that kind of stuff. But that's the first time I've actually heard somebody talk about having like a timetable, like a whole series of events. Like it's almost like going to work.
Yeah, that's what it's meant to be like. It's meant to give you that sort of feeling that you've got to get up, you've got to go to work, and it gives you a routine. Because once you've got a routine, everything falls into place. Anybody can find somebody a house who's homeless. It's easy. The quickest I've done it is 15 minutes. 15 minutes from being street homeless into a flat, right?
Wow.
To have a look, a flat viewing. 15 minutes, right? Anybody can do that. But what's the point in putting somebody in a house where they can sit and drink and take drugs and be depressed
and then not pay the bills, and then they get back into the same position again?
It's stupid.
So where did that model come from, Jay?
I just made it up.
You've picked up of different places, or
this model I made up myself. I thought of stuff that I would want to do, being an ex-service person.
Yeah.
What's interesting, as in fitness, outdoor stuff. Yeah. The one thing I wasn't really into was the art. But I like going to art galleries, but I don't like doing art. But all clients love art. So we do two lessons a week. They love it.
When you're saying art, is it crafts art or painting?
All different kinds. So did everything remotely and designed the front of the building. So we've had the building sprayed with poppies. So the whole building with a bugle blowing the poppies out. So they did that remotely with the artist, and then they cut the stencils out. We dropped gear off at their houses, and then 3 of them come and then sprayed it on. We have, at the minute, they're doing a Christmas tree made out of wood, so it'll nail to the wall outside. All sorts of stuff like that. Lantern parades, all kinds of stuff. It just keeps them busy. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. So how many people do you help at any given time then, Jay?
Well, we've got, when I worked for the homeless charity, right, which I won't name them, but it was shite, right? Yeah. So everything was about money, so it was all about funding. So they would say, we'll help 20 people. So there's an amount of money to help 20 people. So they sign 20 people up, then they'll sign them off, right? So that means we need 20 people that can sign them on again and sign them off. You know what I mean? So what my model is, you just sign, and then you're just a member of VIX for whatever you want. You can come and go as you please. You come back every year for us to fill your forms in for your benefits, or you can come every day. It's entirely up to you. There's no pressure. Do whatever you want. It's there to drop in, come. You can come and do activities, do whatever you want.
How do you measure success, Jay? How do you know that some guy walks through the door and says, "Look, I need your help. Help me."
Right, well, the best success that I've noticed is someone who's came in the door as a client and now works here full time. So they start off as a client, then a volunteer, then part time, then full time, and then we put them on courses. So if they didn't want to work here, they can do other things. It's all about learning new stuff. Everyone's got transferable skills, and nobody thinks they have, because we were in the infantry. So you basically think, well, I can shoot people, I can run. You know what I mean? I can carry loads of stuff. But you can also do loads of stuff. Your time management, the fact that you very rarely have any time off. You'll do shitty jobs that people are not doing.
I have to admit, Jay, that the thing that used, do you know what? I know I was a controversial figure when I was in the army, and I used to challenge authority quite a lot, let's just say. But the truth is, do you know what used to wind me up the most? is I used to sit and listen to some of the most senior NCOs and to some of the officers. And whilst I thought, I'm not painting them all with the same brush here, but I was amazed by how many people I had contact with that held those ranks that were fucking stupid, arrogant, rude, stupid, and treat me like I had no fuck. I might have left school with absolutely zero qualifications, but I consider myself a fairly intelligent person. And I knew quite a lot of my peers in the army, people like yourself and other soldiers, infantry grunts that were written off as just thick cannon fodder shite. And it used to infuriate me. It used to absolutely infuriate me. It used to infuriate me that we weren't allowed to question anything, or that you couldn't contribute anything because you didn't know any better because you're just a dumb grunt. It used to infuriate me, Jay. It used to really annoy me. And I always said to myself, do you know, one of the reasons I went to university wasn't because I needed qualifications. One of the reasons why I went to university was because I managed to get myself, when I left the army, I had my own business for a while. And then I went to work for a German company, and I read, write, and am fluent in German. So I used German as my first language and spent a few years in Germany working for a German company as an export manager, quite a senior role with them, managerial role. And the conversation always turned, not just there, but even when I was amongst clients in East Asia and basically the right-hand drive market all around the world. And I'd sit there, and conversation for some reason would always turn to, amongst them kind of people, to, well, what did you study at university kind of thing? And people used to be kind of amazed and like, look at me, like, what do you mean you never went to university? I never used to go to school, never mind university. And then I thought to myself, do you know what, one day I'm gonna take some time out and I'm gonna do a degree. I'm gonna get a degree just so I can at least be on a par. Nowadays, to be honest with you, I couldn't give a shit who I meet, and I'm very successful with what I do, and I'm not bothered with, and I don't need those kind of little badges to say that you're qualified to do this, that, and the other. Turning around failing businesses, which I'm very good at, is my badge of honor. But to be honest with you, I ended up going to university and things because, circumstances and get myself into a load of shit forced me into it almost. And I don't regret doing it, but you don't have to have those things. And you definitely, as an infantry grunt, no matter whether you joined the army and spent a month in the army, 10 years in the army, and whether you were a private soldier or a sergeant, staff sergeant, we can all fall. None of us are angels, and we can have our wings clipped at any time. And when we do fall, we usually fall quite hard. And the truth of the matter is, no amount of education is going to get you out of that shit. It really is. But definitely what you should never do, what no soldier should ever do, is think he's just a thick pig shit grunt. Because I'm telling you now, I have met some amazingly intelligent grunts who have done really, really well, Jer. And you're on a pedestal because you're helping other people and you've done amazingly well. But there are other people that have done incredibly well without education and without all of, having gone into the army as so-called thick grunts, and I have met some phenomenally talented and successful people. So I think you're right. The programs that you do for people draws that out of them, that confidence out of them. Wouldn't you think that spending whatever time you spend in the army, wouldn't you think that the army would be good at drawing that confidence and stuff out of you? But actually it doesn't.
No, it knocks it, if anything.
It probably knocks it out of you.
If anything, it knocks your confidence out.
Yeah, I think it does. It gives you bravado and all that kind of stuff, and you think you're bulletproof, and you think you're the cock of the place and all that. I mean, it gives you a certain type of confidence, but it doesn't give you social confidence. I've just made that word up, social confidence, but that's what it feels like to me. Being able to go out there in the big, brave, normal world and be able to hold your own and be able to cope with the changes that are coming takes quite a lot of. It takes a lot out of you. It does take a lot out of you, and thank God there are people like you there. Once the wings are clipped to catch them, kind of thing. Thank God, like a little angel of mercy, Jay. Like
cheers, man. Cheers.
I mean, you're a haggard old bastard.
Oh, no, fuck it. I feel it.
And we all.
Before we wrap it up there, I'm going to put the link for Kicking with a Crow on here so people can actually watch your moment of stardom, all right? But, so I'm speaking to you for the first time in 30 years, right?
Yes, mate.
Last Thursday, right, I was going on a dog walk with the clients.
Yeah.
And you remember Harry Carriacou?
Yes, I do. Very well. Yes, I remember him very well.
He fucking phoned and he says, right, are you going to this grid reference? And I was like, the postcode, you mean? And he's like, yeah, I'll meet you there. I've never seen him for 30 years. And he just drove up from Catrick to come on a walk with a dog with us.
No.
Yeah. That's mental, sir.
That is weird.
All right.
Doing now?
He's a captain.
In the army?
No, he's on a ship.
Both would be a surprise to me. Good on him. Wow.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to cut it there because we're on Zoom. Will you come on again?
It's been a pleasure.
Will you come on again?
Pleasure.
Will you come on again?
Oh, I'd love to come on again, Jay. Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't even fucking get time to talk about the army. We just had a laugh.
We didn't, did we?
So definitely I'll book
We've got millions to catch up on.
I'll book you on again in the new year.
Oh, cracking. Yeah, please do, mate. I'd love it.
Thank you very much, man.
And you. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Stay in touch, won't you?
Cheers, man.
Cheers.